This is the first time the successor of Ezekiel Guti is making a public address on Sunday, this coming Sunday. How significant is it to the story of succession that we've always spoken about? Significant in the sense that he is the only person that is addressing using the platforms that were only that were only used by either by Baba Guti, or it was also used by my Guti. How significant is it? Why not the Secretary General? Why not the Deputy Secretary General? Why not the likes of Kapandura or whoever? It is significant because he is the person who gave the announcement of the passing of the late, and him addressing the congregants is to quell doubts, to say that all things are in order, and probably give how things are going to be run and how things are going to fall after that. But also probably is to give the word of comfort to the believers that this is what is happening. And I also want on that vein to say that some people have misconstrued my address in my previous video to be a way of showing bitterness, or because I could not communicate with the late before he passed away. I've written 3 letters to him, which in those 3 letters I stated my case, and I could not be able to meet him, which I don't regret. It's regrettable to his side. I've also met the successor, and I've spoken to him in April in a bid to try to see the late. It has not happened. Do I regret that? I don't regret that. So me speaking about what I encountered has nothing to do with me having hatred over the church. I don't have hatred over the church. I actually have people that are in the church. Some of people talk to me on WhatsApp, talk to me on Facebook. However, that does not stop the fact that doctrinally, the Church of ZAOGA Forward in Faith is askew, or it is wrong, or in Shona we say rakatsauka. Why do we say rakatsauka? Because if we want to look at the life of the late, and we make vis-a-vis with the life of Paul, Peter, and John, and how they lived their life, there is worlds apart of difference. One example, Peter, he was jailed for preaching the gospel. Peter was beaten for preaching the gospel. Peter was hanged for preaching the gospel. Come to Paul. Paul was jailed. Paul was beaten. There were people who vowed to kill Paul. Paul was eventually hanged because of the gospel. Paul was shipwrecked. If you read in the book of 2 Corinthians, he speaks about the struggles that he faced. John the Revelator, he also faced multiple beatings. And when he wrote the book of Revelation, he had no eyes. He was at the Isle of Patmos. And the history tells us that at that Isle of Patmos, there were venomous snakes, and they dumped him there because they thought he was going to die. After they put him in a drum of oil, but he could not die. Right. Let's look at the life of the late. Is there any time where he was jailed for this gospel? Is there any time where he was beaten for this gospel? Is there any time where he faced proper persecution of being stripped naked like what Paul was done? And you look at his life and you say, he's the greatest apostle. You make your judgment yourself, whether I am in the wrong or I am right. If we make a comparison with him, with the apostle that wrote the Bible that you believe in, and you make a comparison with the late and the life that he lived, did he live a life that is in any way comparable to the apostles of old, the late apostles, or even the people that lived there, even the likes of Stephen, how he was stoned, a mere deacon, he was stoned to death for preaching the gospel. One might say, oh, we are living in a Christian nation. Far from it. When the apostles were jailed or were doing that, they were living in the land that believed in the law. That was like what Christians do these days. And we have a sample that I always give you, which is Apostle Chwenga. How people in the church, the so-called church, are so hell-bound in wanting to beat him up. Some they send thugs, some they do a lot of things in order to beat him up. And what has he lost in all these years that he's been preaching the word? And how many people have avoided him? And how many people have connived to want to kill him? So that, for me, in comparison with the two, or in comparison with the late, and in comparison with the apostles of old, it leaves me with more questions. And I thank the grace of God that has allowed me to know what I know. And to some of you, you think that I've got hatred or I've got bitterness. No, I have got love for you, that for you to open your eyes. For some of you, you think that because you have physical or material things, that is to say that God is with you. Far be from the truth. I give you an example of in the Bible, in the book of Genesis chapter 8, from verse 22. You hear about the man being cursed, Canaan, who was the son of Ham. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Shem is where the descendants of Abraham come from. But you then find out that the descendants that became rulers of the land were the descendants of Ham, the one that was cursed by Noah. And God agreed to the curse. After God had agreed to the curse, the descendants of Shem went to look for food from the descendants of Ham, who was cursed. You know the story of how Abraham went to Egypt when there was hunger in the land. You know how Joseph and even Jacob went to Egypt when there was hunger in the land. So you ask yourself, who was cursed? Abraham, whom God blessed in Genesis chapter 12, and Shem, who was blessed in Genesis chapter 8. But the one that was blessed is the one that was going to look for food from the one that was cursed. So my issue is that how you measure the blessing, that you have got material things? So how do you then deduct that the one that was cursed was the one that was giving food to the one that was not cursed? And even Esau, when he was cursed, he had many livestock more than Jacob. Jacob had to go and work for the wife, but Esau could pay his lobola. So this is sign that we are given in the Bible to show us that the curse and the blessing of God are not in material things, but are in the perpetual blessing, the blessing that goes beyond this life. So that's my submission. And that's how I view you. And if you are a member of ZAOGA, I don't hate you. And I don't have any vendetta against you. And I don't have any vendetta against the late or against, and I'm not here to break the church. I'm here to show you the truth. And that truth is what has also saved me. And I hope that one day your eyes will open and you will get to understand where I stand. But thank you so much to those that have been watching, and thank you so much to everyone that has been following. And please keep on subscribing, keep on supporting this channel. We do this for the cause of the believers and for everyone else who care to know about information. I'll see you on the next video.
That point is where I grow confident in that
Ndivoreka. Mungoseva.
whoever they are, they're gonna be back and they're gonna get caught. Because he promised me.
In a nearby municipal building, New Jersey and Pennsylvania State Police work closely with the FBI to find the men who murdered Trooper LaMonica.